Release-trained engineers, program managers, product owners, and engineering leads can use Rally's release tracking page to check in on the delivery of features by team for a specific release. Having a solid understanding of progress throughout a release allows you to report accurately to stakeholders, giving you time to pivot on scope or scheduling if needed. Overall, consistent release tracking ensures there are few surprises at the end of a release. Another benefit of the release tracking page is to surface administration errors that could impact status reporting, such as blocked work or release mismatches between the release associated with the feature and the release associated with the feature's user stories. Use the release tracking page after planning meetings have wrapped up, work has been scheduled, and the release is in progress. Select Portfolio, then Release Tracking to navigate to the Release Tracking page. Choose a release from the release picker at the top left of the page. I'm going to select Fiscal Year 23 Q2. On the right upper part of the screen, choose the grid unit, and then select story points or story count that you want to use to track progress calculations. Also choose a view for the right pane of the page, Chart, Breakdown, or Dependencies. For now, we'll choose Breakdown. Your organization's lowest level portfolio items for the release, or features as we're calling them here, are displayed on the left pane of the page. I'm going to use the search bar to find the Priority Fraud Alerts feature. These features are ranked across teams. A rank value of D indicates a derived feature. This can occur if the feature is associated with a release other than the one selected, but has stories or defects associated with the release selected. This can also indicate features assigned to the release but not to the scoped project in the project picker. Click on the F7 ID to go to the detail editor for that feature. Let's see why this is a derived feature. The release for the feature is Fiscal Year 23 Q3, but stories for the feature are assigned to the Fiscal Year 23 Q2 release. Let's fix this mismatch while we are in this feature. To the right of the name column, you'll see an Issues column, and you can see issues icons located next to names of features, indicating issues or administrative errors associated with the feature. Select the status value to see more details about the percent done for the feature delivery and get details on what's remaining. For derived features, you may see a fraction rather than a percentage done status, since all the details might not be known about derived features on the release tracking page view. The fraction indicates the number of completed units for the type of grid units specified for the page. Next, let's clean up our data administration. Each column in the feature list allows you to sort by clicking the title. Select the Issues column title to sort the features accordingly. Any features with issues icons will come to the top. Select each issues icon next to the names of the features to address any administrative errors or warnings that apply. One common mistake is when a story is not assigned to the same release as its feature parent. Many times the release value for the story simply hasn't been updated, or perhaps the story was originally scheduled for a different release. Select the ID of the user story to go to its detail editor and address the release mismatch. If a story has been blocked, you will see it appear in the issues list. If a user story is dependent on another through a predecessor relationship, but the predecessor is not scheduled into an earlier iteration, this issue will also be surfaced here. Just a quick note, if there are more than 20 issues with one feature, those beyond the limit are not displayed until the older issues are resolved. Unparented stories and defects represent the group of user stories or defects that are associated with the selected release or release iterations but don't have a parent. These unparented artifacts won't be included in the total story points or counts for the features they support. They are also easily lost or overlooked. Click the Unparented Stories and Defects link to begin to surface the applicable work items in the iteration breakdown, and then select the items that are highlighted in the iteration breakdown to reveal one or more work items in question. Select the ID to use the detail editor to associate them with a parent. As you can see now, that unparented issue has now been resolved. Select the chart option to view a burn-up chart for the release. The burn-up chart shows how much work has been completed compared to the total scope of the release. The preliminary estimate line is the sum of the preliminary estimates for all features that have been scheduled in the release. This value changes when a feature is added or removed from the release or when the preliminary estimate for a feature changes. The plan points line shows the sum of the planned estimates for the stories and defects scheduled in the release. This line, contrasted with the preliminary estimate line, is useful for indicating scope creep or scope reduction with respect to the release. The dotted lines, prediction planned and prediction accepted, show trends derived from the available data. These lines should intersect sometime in the latest iteration or before to indicate the planned completion date for work in the release. If they do not, it means that some portion of the portfolio items scheduled in the release will not be complete within the release time box. Keep in mind that heading towards a missed release completion date doesn't necessarily mean the team overcommitted at the start. Defects or stories that get added after planning can often be culprits that set your release off track. Select the breakdown option to view all the features in play for each iteration for each team. This view also shows work that has been assigned to the release but that has not yet been scheduled into an iteration. Select a row in the portfolio item list on the left pane to highlight the feature in the matrix of teams and iterations on the right pane. Rows for teams not working on a selected feature will be collapsed. Be sure to not click on the ID for the portfolio item in the list. That will open the view for the individual work item, and you'll have to close out of it to get back to the original view. You can see details of the user stories associated with the feature by selecting the feature in the right pane. Select the feature row in the list again to return the view to its original state. The Dependencies option shows a summary of dependencies among features associated with the release. This view is helpful in identifying possible delays of work delivery for the release and can be used to determine which features to watch during the release time box. All features that have a predecessor or successor dependency at the portfolio item level for the release will show in the list, even if a feature in the dependency relationship is not assigned to the selected release. In the breakdown view, features with story-level predecessors display a predecessor icon. Selecting the feature in the right pane shows the predecessor story and story details. Check the status of the predecessor story to ensure that it's accepted before beginning work on its successor. Notice that the dependency relationship for the feature is also called out in its issues in the feature list on the left if a predecessor is scheduled in a way that it can't complete in time for the successor, or if the status is such that it puts the successor at risk. You can now use the release tracking page to monitor progress for teams and features throughout a planned release.